So we've just played a couple of demos from Sunset Overdrive here, the co-op multiplayer demo and a single-player demo that was also shown at the Microsoft press conference.
Right.
Really, this is the proper coming out party for Sunset Overdrive. How do you feel about it? We're just a few months removed from its release.
Well, it's been pretty exciting to see the reaction to the game. We showed off a little bit of it last year, but this is the first time we're really putting the controller in people's hands, and the response has been very exciting. One of the things that makes us so happy about the response is that we've really tried to make a very different game, tonally and in terms of gameplay, and I think people are really appreciating that.
One thing that's difficult with such a brief demo, it's the E3 atmosphere, is the fact that everything's very frenetic in this game, but really the beauty in it is the sort of variation and tactics you can have with the different weapons that sort of, I didn't even start switching weapons until I was way into the demo, but that's one of the key important things here, right?
Yeah, thanks for recognizing that. That is true. This game is full of unconventional weapons you simply won't find anywhere else, and that's part of our heritage at Insomniac. We like making things that are, well, again, you won't find in other games. So one of my favorites is the TNTeddy. It's this teddy bear launcher, and it fires a teddy bear who's got dynamite strapped to his belly, and he goes out and he kind of bounces around and squeals and he blows up. Another one of my favorites is the Captain Ahab, which is a harpoon gun, which is powered by a fire extinguisher, and it's got a bottle of overcharged duct tape to the harpoon. So it's a great precision weapon, great at a distance, does a lot of damage, but when it hits an enemy or when it hits an object, it starts leaking overcharge, this substance in the game, and enemies are drawn to it like puppies on a summer day, and they're lapping up the overcharge, and what I like to do is fire a TNTeddy right into the middle of them and blam! Anyway, my point.
For a lot of points.
For a lot of points. And what's great is that there's a ton of strategy that players can employ just by combining the various weapons. But then on top of that, if you add the hyper-agile traversal that you have in the game, it really presents a very different take on shooters.
So what's the idea here? Are you meant to sort of look stylish while playing? Are you meant to kill as many enemies as possible? What's the sort of what's the objective for gamers?
Well, first of all, this is a story-driven game, so it's an open-world game where you are following a fairly a detailed story, and as you are exploring this giant city, you are picking up various more and more story elements, but you're also earning weapons. You're crafting what we call amps in the game, and these amps confer new abilities to the weapons that you've been buying or earning, and they also can be attached to the hero. So the hero can have new abilities as well. But again, they're crafted and they're part of the progression system. Now, you asked about style. So as you're moving through the city, grinding, vaulting, bouncing, you're earning style. And there's a meter in the top right-hand corner which starts to fill up. And every time you fill up or hit a threshold, it activates one of the amps that you've attached to your weapons or to your character. And there are a whole bunch of ways you can attach them. And it starts to change the way the game works in terms of combat.
So in terms of how you present the game, it's been a lot of fourth wall breaking, very tongue-in-cheek, very sort of attitude-rich. Is that also present, like, not just in the gameplay in the game, but is that something you want to bring out in the storytelling as well inside of the game?
Absolutely. The story is very self-aware, and what's fun for us is that it's also driven by what we think are some fairly important themes. One of which is that we, as a society, we seem to have this obsession with the end times, right? There have been so many movies, so many games about the apocalypse, and they're usually grim, dark visions of the apocalypse. We decided to turn it on its head and make this your awesome apocalypse. What would happen if something horrific happened in the city. Well, maybe it's actually fun. Maybe you don't have to worry about that dead-end job. Maybe you can play your music as loud as you want, wear what the hell you want, and have fun. And that's what a lot of this game is about. So that's just one of the themes that we've kind of grabbed and made our own.
Right, so moving on to the co-op, I feel like there's a lot of the systems that feed into the co-op in a lot of nice ways. How the different weapons works and how you can help teammates out and stuff like that. It's sort of a wave-based thing. Can you tell us a little bit about the mechanics in there?
So the co-op takes place, the multiplayer mode is called Chaos Squad, and it takes place in the same open world that the campaign takes place in. So you and 7 friends are going on a series of missions that are randomized as you're moving through the world. Now, after you finish each of these missions, you get to vote on what you're going to do next. So you get a couple of randomized missions to choose from. You go on.
What kind of missions are we talking about?
Well, they can involve anything from traversal challenges to combat challenges to some other things we'll reveal later. But because this is a game that doesn't take itself too seriously, and is not ultra realistic, we can have a lot of fun with the kind of challenges we give multiplayer participants. But as you're moving through these missions, eventually it culminates in something called Night Defense, which you just played, and it is a over-the-top, explosive experience where you're protecting these vats of overcharge against marauding enemies. And you have to work together, obviously, but you have a few other things that you can use to your advantage. You have traps, first of all, lots of different types of traps that you can place around the environment to help keep the enemies out. But you also have the traversal skills to your that you've been building up. You also have the weapons that you bring over with you from your single-player game. Upgraded, all the amps that you've crafted in the single-player game, they all come into play here as well. And at the very end of Night Defense, depending on how well you've done, you begin to earn more and more rewards. And those rewards could be weapons, they could be amp recipes, they could be vanity, they could be cash for use in the game. And whatever you earn, you can bring right back into the campaign. So there's a seamless transition between the two.
You got to play a few different characters here. What's the significance of that? And are they part of the story, and sort of how does that work?
Well, in Sunset Overdrive, it is your story. From the very beginning, you are choosing your gender, your ethnicity, your hairstyle, your body style, and your clothes. And at any time during the game, you can change it. So what we were just showing here was us having fun, coming up with different characters and making them available to players at E3.
So it doesn't really change anything about your play style is your own to choose by the weapons you pick, basically.
Correct. Yep.
All right. And Sunset Overdrive is out this October?
October 28th. That's correct. Xbox One.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks for the interview. Appreciate it.